In this episode of Spirited Conversations, I chatted to someone who is no stranger to the camera, but is more used to asking the questions than answering them. A familiar face to any motorsport fan, Chad Neylon has built himself a reputation as one of the most knowledgeable and professional broadcasters across a range of motorsport categories. Now, he's more used to digging for other people's stories, but Chad's motorsport journey and insights are definitely worth a listen. Chad, I'm going to start with an icebreaker because I have to admit it's intimidating interviewing a professional interviewer. So firstly,
Right.
can you be nice to me? Can you be
I
kind
will
to
be.
me?
That's funny. I find you intimidating at times, so that's good.
Oh no, that's not how you want to start this.
In a good way.
Anyway, let's get on to the good stuff. I'd love to first get kind of an overview of your beginnings in motorsport. You're such a familiar face around the paddock, but we don't necessarily know your backstory.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really come from a racing family or anything. I did have an auntie who was in drag racing. She used to race a motorcycle back in Perth, but grew up just loving it. And I think once Mum and Dad realised that I like going to the speedway, I like going to the drags, I like going to Wanneroo to watch the touring cars as it was back then, they realised I'd be good at school if they took me to these things. So I think it became just a matter of keeping me to be a good boy when I was little. I just wanted to always go to the track. I didn't care what it was.
Was there anything in particular that you had an affinity with that really kind of piqued your interest that you thought, I definitely want to pursue that?
Yeah, I think I gravitated towards drag racing for whatever reason. I don't know, just because it's loud and it smells good. But it was pretty obvious once, every kid dreams of being a race car driver. And there was a little bit of that in me, but I always wanted to be a commentator. I was the kid who would push his Hot Wheels cars around the floor commentating it, wanting to be Mike Raymond or Neil Crompton. And that's sort of the way that I ended up gravitating and got my first gig in drag racing on the microphone, and that's where it all started.
Tell us more about that. How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, I'm lucky to grow up in Perth. We've got the Perth Motorplex over there, which is an amazing venue. And they race almost every week. And I started off doing the Wednesday night, they call them Whoop-Ass Wednesdays, where you literally just commentate old mate in his Commodore or his Volkswagen Golf, just doing laps down the drag strip. And that turned into getting to commentate some big drag racing and lucky enough to get my first TV gig when I was 21, which was commentating drag racing. And then drag racing turned into Speedway into Rally, which is a sport that you love, and got the gig at Supercars in 2013. So this is season 9 already. Season 8 or 9 with Supercars, which is cool. Time
flies when you're having fun. Now, there was some study in there, so Tell us a bit about the education side of your career.
Scraped into university, I think is the way I'd call it. I certainly didn't do too well in year 12, but enough to be able to get into Notre Dame and study communications, and did theatre, which is funny. So great if you want to learn how to public speak and get in front of people and not be nervous and have some confidence. So I did that. And then I was lucky enough to go and do a postgraduate diploma in broadcasting at Edith Cowan University, or WAPA as it is over in WA, and it was a really intensive 12-month course learning how to do exactly what we do now.
Now, you mentioned family. You don't have a motorsport background in your family, as you mentioned particularly, but you've now got a family of your own. So how does that all tie in together? Is it something that you do as a family? Is it something that you want to encourage?
It will be, absolutely. I've got 2 sons. They're very young, 3 and 10 weeks old, 11 weeks old. So they're still pretty little. I did take my eldest son to the track when he was about 6 weeks old to go to Barbagallo, and got a photo in front of Tom Randall's car and all that sort of cool stuff. And I can't wait until they're old enough for me to take them to the track with me. I think that's just going to be what it's all about. Like, for me, my best memories as a kid were going to the track with my dad. We used to set up the car parks at Wanneroo the week before the Supercars rolled in to get free tickets, and that was me and Dad a week out of school. Oh my God, there goes Dick Johnson, and that used to get the excitement before the race, and I can't wait to do that with my own kids.
Nobody can get anywhere without the support of good people around them. Is there anybody in your career who you can pinpoint certain successes to, who's been particularly influential in getting you to where you are now? Yeah,
good friend of mine, Dean Neal, who does a lot of production with the AFL these days, got me started through my drag racing journey, which is what introduced me to Nathan Prendergast. Nathan, be familiar to a lot of people. He's the guy who runs the TV show here at Supercars and got me in there when it first began under Scott Young's guidance a few years ago. And after working there for a while, Neil Crompton gave me a buzz one day and said, how would you like to work for me? So I work at Airtime Media, which is Neil's company, and he's been my mentor now for 4 or 5 years. He's an amazing guy to work with and for. I've probably learnt more about running a small business than I have about broadcasting, which I never thought would happen. But Nathan and Neil have been hugely influential in helping me to get to where I am today and teaching me the tools that I need to get here.
It's not only people that are important, of course, it's attitude and your approach to tackling new challenges and new environments. So how has that played out in your career?
I like to think that I'm a pretty positive guy to start with. I've always worked hard. I was terrible at studying things at school because it wasn't what I wanted to do, but when I do something that I want and I put my mind to it, I really dive into it. And to get to where we are at this level, you need just so much time and research and putting in the numbers, knowing if you're commentating the 86s or Super 2, where are their backgrounds, what have they won, how old are they, where are they from, all those little bits and pieces, you need to have it all set out, and no one's giving you that stuff, you've got to go and do all that yourself. So I love the research element of bringing commentary notes to it. I've not won Bathurst, I'm not a Supercars Hall of Famer. I probably just know which side of the car to get into if I was going to go drive it. So what I need to bring is research and passion, and I hope that's what comes through when I'm on the microphone.
In broadcasting, you're working with various different teams and across different forms of motorsport, and it must be really challenging having to adjust to those different teams and making sure that you're up to scratch with all the details of each different category that you're working across. How do you find that you best approach each of those challenges in different team environments?
I make sure that I have a stats file on everybody that I work with in every category, so I can just click on Dunlop series and up comes all the drivers and facts and stats. If you look at Darwin, we were doing drag racing on the Friday night, Australian superbikes and then supercars. They're three totally different things with different rules, different regulations, different qualifying formats, different teams, different tyre suppliers, and you've got to know all those little things along the way. And so you just got to put the time into it. Make lots of phone calls, try and familiarise yourself with people. If you're commentating a new category, like that was my first time calling the superbikes, get down there and shake some hands and ask Troy Bayliss about how does the Ducati work. When you land yourself in the Rally Championship, you go down there and you meet Molly Taylor and ask her how her pace notes work, and you just get those little tidbits just by talking to people.
So it's the first day of an event, you're rolling into the paddock. What are you most looking forward to?
The unknown. I always think that when I roll into a track, you don't know what's going to happen, and that's what's exciting about broadcasting is you could be the voice on the next Stephen Bradbury, the next amazing moment that people watch for years and years and it ends up on YouTube, or similarly you could be the dope who ends up on YouTube saying the wrong thing, completely making a fool of yourself. And that's what's so exciting about broadcasting. That's what's so cool about live sport, is it could just be a practice session for a category that you've only seen once in your life, and it could just turn into something epic or heroic, or you have no idea what's about to happen. And that is the best thing about live sport, and that is the best thing about TV broadcasting.
You touched upon doing Super 2 and things like that now, so your role in supercars has changed quite a lot this year. You've kind of stepped up, which is fantastic. So how has that been for you? How's that transition been this year? It's
been exciting. I was really pumped up for this year. Also doing a lot with supercars.com and the digital frontier that's there, which I like because it's got a huge audience. But yeah, Nathan and the team have trusted me to get down into the trenches and hold a microphone and be in those tough positions. And sadly, with Neil getting sick, that led to an opportunity to stand next to Scafie and share that role with Garth, which was really exciting. Not how I ever wanted to do it, but really exciting all the same. But yeah, I was so energised for this year. I love calling the support categories, and I still get to do that, which is great. But there's nothing like being in the lane for a supercars race and being in there that moment when someone gets out in Pertec Victory Lane and you're showing how was that race, and you sort of feel like you're part of the celebration. Doing the podiums is a lot of fun backstage as well. So there's so many cool elements to it, and yeah, I was really pumped up to get into it this year, and so happy and so thankful to be given that cool opportunity.
Talking about Neil, who you mentioned has been a big influence on your career and who we wish was with us at the moment, and we wish him all the best. What do you think makes him and other top-level broadcasters, what do you think sets him apart and puts him at that extra level that just makes him so much more special in the hearts of the people watching?
Neil's an incredible talent, for one, but the one thing that sets Neil apart is his work ethic is phenomenal. Like, I've worked close with him for 4 years, and I feel like I might do a hard day's work where I clock on pretty early and I clock off at night, and Neil was there before me and Neil was there after me. We made a documentary about Roger Penske, who's a guy that we both admire. And there's a grab in there where Tim Cindric says, "You'll never outwork him," talking about Roger. And that's how I feel every day I walk into work with Neil Crompton, is you can never outwork that guy. Whatever you think you're doing, he's doing it harder and he's doing it better. And every time he rolls into the commentary box, he's amazing. And his ability to separate what happens in the business world and then come into here and just be so eloquent with the way that he words everything around what we're looking at on TV is just such a gift. and one that takes a lot of time to craft, and hopefully it's something that one day I'll be able to craft myself. But I never want to be Neil Crompton, I want to be me, but learn the best from what he can teach me for sure.
Any advice for somebody who is coming in and hoping to follow in your footsteps?
I get asked a little bit online. People send you an Instagram message going, oh, how did you get into doing what you're doing? You don't have to go to university, but the best place to start is just find out, where's your local racetrack? Is it a drag strip? Is it a speedway? Is it, the fact that they do hill climbs? Do they need a commentator? Can you do it for free? Are you willing to do it for free? Are you up for working for no money for a couple of years while you get yourself started to just get your name out there and learn what you do and do as much of it as you can? So if you can be on the microphone every couple of weeks, can you be in front of a lens every couple of days, then you're going to get better and better. Just like a racing driver needs seat time in the car to improve their craft, the more time you can spend in front of the camera, the better you get. And the best way to do it is offer your services up to someone who's willing to take you in and go from there.
It's all very well telling people to offer their services up, and that is definitely the way to do it. How do people find that person who they need to get in contact with to offer their services?
That's a good question. And a lot of the time when people ask me, oh, how would you get started? I don't tell them who it is that they need to go and find, because if they've got it in them to go and find that person themselves, then they've probably got what they need to go and start doing the work, because a huge amount of what you're doing is joining the dots. So didn't have anyone in my family or my world who introduced me to people, so I had to sort of figure out how to do it myself. Who are the people here that you need to speak to? Who do you need to get in front of? Networking. All you really need to do is shake some hands and introduce yourself and say thanks for letting me come and play here today. It's hard though to know exactly where to start, but get on the phone and start ringing people and you'll end up somewhere.
So to close us, I would love to get your thoughts on where you think the future of broadcasting in supercars and motorsport in general is going.
Yeah, that's the million plus dollar question, I think, is where is all this going in the future? I think we're starting to see more and more of that now. You can watch the Repco Supercars Championship in more different ways and more spots around the world than ever before. Definitely, there will always be a place for the broadcast arena, whether that be free to air or pay TV, but definitely more digital space is going to be hugely important. I think we're in a position at Supercars where we can watch what other categories like Formula One do, because they'll be the trailblazers. It is, awkward for fans to make a transition from what they've always wanted to do, whether it be sit on the couch and watch it on Channel 7 on a Sunday afternoon, to learning that you can watch it for free on different apps, or you can get KO or 7+. Is there a way to watch highlights on YouTube? All these different ways. Do you have the Supercars app? I think that's where it's all going to end up one day, is just all these different spots that you can watch it. And hopefully, for the sake of the sport, there'll be competition there as well, because that'll drive up not just the ratings, but certainly what the sport is worth as well. So that's going to be hugely important one day. Who knows? We could be watching it on our watches in 20 years. You just don't know, and that's what's exciting about it.
Absolutely. I think anybody who says that they know what's going to be happening in broadcasting in general over the next kind of even 5 years is probably doesn't actually have a clue.
Yeah.
So broad. Last one, I would love to get your thoughts. Say we're getting in an elevator and you've got like 30 seconds to pitch to me as a complete motorsport, clueless, why I should become a Supercars fan. Sell it to me.
Sell it to me. I think access is one of the great things about this sport. We have access to drivers and brands that are really special, but certainly the locations that we get to go to. If I hopped into the elevator and you're just a punter who's here to enjoy Townsville for the week, to convince you to come out and check out this sport, because the next week we could be off going to Darwin, or we could be going to New Zealand. And I think that's what's so cool about it, the locations we get to go to and the pure excitement of this sport. And I forget about it because I've grown up around it. And when people come out here for the first time and they stand next to the fence and they feel a car go past, you don't so much as hear it, but feel it. You can feel it in the grandstands, you can feel the walls and the fences rattling. Just no other sport can do that to you like motor racing can, whether it be on a circuit, a drag strip, or a speedway. This is a massive sensory experience, racing, and certainly why I love it and always have loved it. And you forget about it until you see someone new to it again and they go, wow, this is like nothing else, like sport you can smell. And I think that is how I try and explain it. And if I didn't get you to agree by that point, I'd push all the buttons on the elevator and then run.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and if I ever meet somebody who I need to try and convince to get into our sport, I'm going to borrow that entire pitch, because that was just fantastic. Chad, it has been so good delving into your history and getting your insights on not only your life, but the sport in general. And thank you so much for your time.
Good stuff, Jess. Maybe one day we'll swap seats again.